CNN is reporting that Ghislaine Maxwell is receiving unusual privileges in prison, from unlimited toilet paper to enhanced living conditions, even as scrutiny of her ties to Epstein and Trump, as we just spoke about, resurface.
This is another element of the cover-up. As I mentioned, Todd Blanche, the Justice Department official, former Trump lawyer, conducted this softball interview with Maxwell. Not even close to an interview you would expect with a DOJ official and a convicted person of heinous, awful crimes. And it had one purpose, right? What was the purpose of that interview, Sam?
Trying to get Trump's name cleared.
Exactly. And as we showed, she's, certainly known as a liar, even though, they dropped that charge. But, the evidence showed she was a liar. And clearly, if Epstein's email showed nothing else, she was lying again. She knew that Trump had been in Epstein's house. It was proven by contemporaneous emails. So what does she get in return? It has to be a quid pro quo. There's no other explanation.
That's what I was going to say. There's no other reason, again, why they're continuing to treat her so well if they still want more from her.
Well, even before that, there's no reason for her to be transferred to a prison farm. In fact, the regulations are against it. Someone convicted of the kind of crime that she's convicted of, according to the regulations, should never be sent to a prison farm.
Right.
That's not appropriate for someone convicted of a felony of that scale. She should have stayed where she was. And there is yet to be any explanation from the administration of what justified that transfer other than this quid pro quo. But as you say, it gets worse. Not only is she at this prison farm where she's deliriously happy as compared to where she was before, but this person convicted of a heinous crime who shouldn't be there in the first place is getting special privileges. Now, unlimited toilet paper may not seem like much, right, Sam?
But in prison,
it's a huge deal, particularly in a women's prison.
Right.
It is a huge deal. Ordinary prisoners, get a couple of rolls a week and really have to struggle to preserve it or have to spend money to buy it. She gets unlimited. Why in the world would she get that kind of special privilege?
Like I said, they must want more out of her or to keep her quiet, one or the other.
And there's all kinds of other. Her visitors get special privileges. She gets the use of the chaplain as an office. Prisoners were removed from near her cell or in her cell. She was able to interact with a puppy. And here's the worst thing, I think. Again, this is all reporting. It's not my own investigation, but it's lots of outlets have reported this, not just one, that she is writing a request to Trump for a commutation, which means her prison term, which is still mostly yet to be served of 20 years, gets wiped out. And the warden is helping her, assisting her with this commutation.
What?
Yes, that's what the reporting says. And their explanation for all of this is, we have to keep her safe because she's a target. Well, extra toilet paper doesn't help keep her safe, does it? Having a puppy doesn't help keep her safe. Special privileges for visitors doesn't help keep her safe.
Right.
Having the warden help her with a commutation petition doesn't help keep her safe. So number one, they have no justification for sending her there in the first place. And number two, they have no justification that has any credibility for most of these special privileges. It is corruption at the highest possible level.
And what's remarkable about all this is that if these emails didn't come out, our main topic would be the shutdown's over. But this has totally clouded the fact that the shutdown is over. Everybody, all the news organizations, just chatter online is all talking about the Epstein emails and the government.
Freddy Krueger.
The government shutdown, which was the longest in history.
I know, longest by far.
really ended with a beep.
Yeah, didn't end with a bang, but with a whimper, to quote a famous line. How much time do we have?
we're good. Do you want to talk about a federal judge?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can do that real fast in a minute or two.
You don't need to do it real fast. We're chilling. Don't worry about it.
What time is it?
Let me handle the the show running. Okay.
Yes, boss.
Yes. So let's get to the next topic. The only non-Epstein topic of the day. A federal judge appeared openly skeptical of the Justice Department's attempt to keep Lindsay Halligan as prosecutor in the Comey and Letitia James case, pressing DOJ lawyers on political motives. No.
This is something that Trump didn't even try to hide. You know, he explicitly pressured his toady Attorney General, Pam Bondi, handpicked to do his bidding. As I predicted, that Gates, was a feint and he would pick Bondi. Pressured her. Not supposed to do that. It's not illegal, but it breaches what's supposed to be the wall of separation between the political side of the government and the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi is not Trump's lawyer. I repeat, Pam Bondi is not Trump's lawyer. Trump has his own White House lawyer on the political side. Whose lawyer is Pam Bondi, Sam?
Mine.
Yes, she's supposed to be the lawyer for the American people. So Trump pressures her to take revenge against enemies. And the very conservative, longtime prosecutor that's in charge of the case says, I'm not going to do it. It's too flimsy. There really isn't a case here. And guess what happens to him?
Tell me.
He's forced out. And guess who's put in his place?
Tell me.
Lindsay Halligan. And how many cases has she ever prosecuted at the time she was made U.S. Attorney? Zero. And she is the sole person who goes to the grand jury to prosecute. But the story gets worse. I mean, it's hard to imagine how these things get worse. It's worse than putting someone totally unqualified, totally inappropriate into that position for the sole purpose of making a flimsy case forced by Trump for political revenge. But it gets worse. The lawyers are charging, and I think very credibly, that she was illegally put in that position because there's a 120-day window to put in an acting U.S. attorney. That window had passed, and you can't put a new person in who hasn't been approved by the Senate. And she had been approved by nobody, never would have been approved, even by the Republican Senate. That would have been a bridge too far. And she's the sole person who brought the charge. So I think the judge is rightly very skeptical of whether she was legally appointed, number one, or number two, whether this was a vindictive prosecution, whether they decided to prosecute and then searched for something. Look, if you have all the resources of the federal government and you're searching to find something on someone, I don't care who you are, you're going to find it, right?
Right.
No one is 100%, pure as the driven snow. And boy, they had a reach to find the flimsiest possible indictments, which is why Seibert, the conservative veteran prosecutor, declined to prosecute, and they had to put in this Trump toady to do it. There's another thing that's astounding.
Tell me.
The judge, who is a senior judge, I think he's 77, was appointed by Bill Clinton way back when. So, he's not someone currently involved in politics at all. It's pretty impartial. He wanted to review the grand jury transcripts. Remember, only Halligan went to the grand jury. And guess what? 2 hours are missing. It ends at 4:28, and the grand jury went on for another 2 hours.
Wow.
No transcript. Now, again, the administration says, well, the only thing that happened during those last 2 hours was the panel deliberating among themselves. Maybe yes, maybe no. But, of course, we have no idea of knowing since there's no record. This reminds me a bit of Rosemary Woods. You know who she was?
No idea.
Richard Nixon's secretary, and she was transcribing Oval Office conversations, including a critical one, and there was an 18-minute gap. That's never been explained. This is a 2-hour gap. And the explanation doesn't hold water. I was listening to a terrific attorney. He used to be Trump's attorney, so he's not exactly, a lunatic left-winger. Ty Cobb, the guy with the huge white mustache.
The guy who looks like a cartoon character.
Yeah. He doesn't have a 357 lifetime batting average, but maybe higher in the courts.
Right.
And he said he's certain these cases are going to be tossed. And I don't know if they could recharge Comey because they got in at the very last moment of the statute. And there may be a grace period when you can recharge. I'm not sure. They can recharge James because there's a 10-year statute of limitations. But the judge could dismiss the cases with prejudice, in which case you can't recharge. Very, very interesting to see what happens here.
And don't forget, every accusation that Trump makes, he's been crying against political prosecution against himself and witch hunts. Every accusation he does is an admission to something he already did, is currently doing, or will do in the future. And this is just another example of that.
The greatest example of projection in American history. Thanks for watching our video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.